Hey guys, my name is Sympathy, and OG Killer Panda successfully did a Twitter retweet campaign / meme. And as a result, today I'm going to be talking about the Goo Goo Dolls, and I'm going to be ranking all of their charting songs on the Billboard Adult Pop Songs charts. It's just a fun thing to do as a one-off, but I honestly don't know if I'm going to allow anybody else to do a meme like this to get me to do a video. Okay. The Goo Goo Dolls are a band I grew up with. They practically dominated the radio stations I listened to in grade school and middle school, so yeah, I think you could consider myself a fan already. I already knew and liked a good majority of these songs going in, so it was hard to properly rank them, but I found a way in the end. Those of you who like it when I'm more positive about music will probably like this video a lot, because I barely have any bad things to say about any of these songs. With that in mind, let's look at the only song in this ranking I thought was meh. You know a band's discography is good when the weakest song on this ranking is a 2 out of 5. This song isn't even that bad. At this point, though, it just kind of feels like a less memorable retread of sounds and ideas Goo Goo Dolls have been doing for years. It doesn't really have its own identity either, outside of it being for Transformers, which is a movie I don't like. I didn't even see any of the sequels, and I have no plans to. Anyway, John Resnick's voice, I hope I'm saying that correctly, is pretty clear here, and I kinda like the lick on the chorus, but the writing is nothing special. It just makes me wish I was listening to other songs in this ranking. I actually hear this song at work pretty frequently, but had no idea it was Goo Goo Dolls until I listened to the songs for this ranking. And, well, I can see why it's department store overhead music. It's got an okay folk vibe, and the guitars sound nice, and the melodies are pretty well constructed, actually. Plus, the sentiment of being there for a partner is nice. It's pretty pleasant, though kinda forgettable. Weirdly, the verses sound too similar to the chorus and melody, just sung an octave higher. So there's not really a reason to be excited for the chorus. But I guess that's kinda nitpicking. Decent song, but not something I really come to Goo Goo Dolls for. Not something I see myself coming to over and over again. The other Transformers song these guys made, and definitely the one that I like more. I like the added focus on electric guitars over Before It's Too Late. It feels like there's more stakes compared to its sister song, especially when those sour chords kick in on the bridge. Though I do wish they went somewhere other than just connecting it to the next chorus. I think this could have used a solo, honestly. Also, similarly to Before It's Too Late, it feels like a bit of self-copying. But still, pretty good self-copying. A song made for the 2008 Olympics? That alone makes this a little weaker than the rest of these guys' songs. I guess you could say that's not fair, but hey, they still managed to make it work, kinda. The guitars sound great and I love that solo, and the writing is at least strong enough to make this applicable to more than just a sporting event. Though the melodies aren't as memorable as these guys have made in the past, it's alright, but not something I'd readily return to when the rest of these guys' discography is much stronger. I got a serious case of, oh, that song when I heard this. Just from the opening guitars, actually. They're distorted in such a unique way, kind of, that just screams 90s rock to me. Though they're pretty off-putting, admittedly. It feels like the melody is getting lost in a vortex, and it's not really the most pleasant thing in the world. But at least it's short. The chorus thankfully makes up for this. It's one of those cases where the melody can get stuck in the back of your mind, though you might not know the words. At least for me, since like a bunch of these, I grew up with this song. Though I'm actually not a fan of John's subdued tones on the verses either. Like the opening riff, it sounds kinda awkward and the song feels like it's at a standstill when you hear them. I guess I kinda like this song less than I did when I was a kid, but it's still good in my book. This might actually be my most controversial opinion in this video. Broadway is dark tonight. I'm not as familiar with this song as I am with the other singles off Dizzy Up the Girl, but hey, I still dig it. This one feels more rock than some of the other songs the group was making at the time, and that's alright with me. It's kind of an angry song when you read the lyrics, especially with the waiting for his turn to die line, and this is about as rough as you could expect these guys to get about their angst. It's still pretty poppy, yeah, but hey, it does it for me. I seem to remember the song getting played on the radio a lot when I was a kid. Let Love In was released in 2006, but I swear it has to be older than that. It's definitely one of the Goo Goo Dolls' heavier songs with cleaner distortion than they used in the Dizzy Up the Girl era, and hey, it's pretty awesome for that. I don't have much to say about this, but I will concede that it legitimately rocks while having an emotional core and swell. Great stuff. So take these words and sing out loud. Another pretty beautiful song, beautiful sentiment too, the hope in there being better days in the future despite the grim realities which plague us today. It's a timeless message, especially now. The violins add an air of the hope John Resnick's singing about, though I do wish the build in the chorus led to something more. That's really my only complaint about this song. Stranger than your sympathy, and this is my apology. Oh, I didn't know Goo Goo Dolls made this song too. Guess you could kind of compare this to Green Day's Good Riddance in that it's almost entirely rooted in acoustic guitar with minimal percussion. Also, it's about bitterness and regret. So, yeah, there you have it. It's their version of Good Riddance by Green Day. The guitars are great and incredibly catchy. It may be an unplugged set, but it's an unplugged set with a pulse and great writing. Definitely a highlight for the band. Okay, full disclosure, I don't like the original Supertramp version of this song. I don't like Supertramp in general, actually. But I'd rather not devote a chunk of this video to talk about how much I despise Supertramp, and instead I'll say that the Goo Goo Dolls actually did a pretty good job covering this song, because at its core, the original had a good message. It just needed to be pumped a little with some lively guitars and a singer whose voice doesn't make me depressed. The guitars sound great and the energy and passion is there, and it just makes me feel happy. Definitely a big part of my childhood, and one that still holds up today. Hey, you, look around, can you hear that noise? It's a rebel sound. Is this a pretentious millennial call to action? Well, kinda. Probably is, I don't know. All I know is I love it. The energy to this is absolutely infectious. You may not agree with what they're saying, you might think it's kind of overblown, but they make a good case for it anyway, with how all out they go in the instrumentation. It's a happy, hopeful song, and a great reinvention of what Goo Goo Dolls can do in the modern era. So evidently this is Goo Goo Dolls' big political song. It doesn't really say anything that profound or shocking, but its message is admirable. Let love in. That about sums it up, I think. I love the emphasis on distorted guitars and the vocal melody, and the chorus is flat out amazing. It's the kind of thing I wish I could get stuck in my head, but evidently I can't. This has some nice acoustic guitars, and the whole thing is very uplifting, especially that chorus. It's an earworm, and one that deserves to be called one. Baby, it's alright. You can use me anytime. This song charted pretty much immediately after I finished writing the script for this video. How's that for timing? But I don't mind, it didn't take me long to listen to it and talk about it, and I still really like it. It's a rough-edged blues song with a dreamlike chorus. I was pretty much going to like this from the start. This could have even been a 5 if the production quality was a bit better, but I could still appreciate that somewhat grainy quality. It's okay. Also, the lyrics are mostly about being there for someone who's struggling in life, which is fine. I feel like it fits the feel of the song pretty well, though I don't know how I would explain it. Really, I'm just shocked that these guys have stayed so fresh for all these years, and even the other singles from boxes show this, as we'll see a little later on. Ooh, there's where I really start to love these guys. Though it's soft with a focus on acoustic guitars, Name carries a strong emotional core in both its soft strumming and the more upbeat bassy chorus. But the change in tempo is far from jarring, as it gives the song climax, especially later on with the acoustic solo. It may be one of the later songs these guys have put out, but it's far from boring, and it's an absolute radio classic to me. I didn't exactly hear this song growing up, so I don't really have much to say about this. I will say that the distortion here is top-notch. And like the lyrics suggest, it sounds really friggin' happy. Like, so happy there's not a care in the world. Weird match, but one that works for me big time. This was released as a single just last year, and it's great. And yet it sounds unlike any other Goo Goo Dolls song that I've heard. It doesn't resemble either the pop or rock sides they built up in the early 2000s, but instead feels like an attempt at atmospheric pop rock. Kinda the thing I'd imagine One Republic making. That hook of the chanting "I'm so alive" hooked me from the first time I heard it as a radio promo. And yeah, somehow it's one of my favorite songs from these guys. If you saw my Silver Sun Pickups video, you might be able to get a sense for why I like this so much. It's the kind of song I can easily envision myself being in a different world when I'm listening to it. When a song feels like a journey, that's when I know it's good. And those influences seem to have spilled into their second single from Boxes. This one retains a bit more of the rock edge Goo Goo Dolls are known for, with the chorus of Turn It Up driving home a sense of desperation and a desire to break loose. The synth work throughout the verses is subtle yet soothing, and the chorus is an absolute headbanger. If you thought these guys had heavy distortion before, you ain't heard nothing yet. That crunch is one of the most satisfying sounds in this entire ranking. It's just pure bliss to me. Come take me home. Wow, the melodies on this are fantastic. That piano lick that plays throughout the verses, the cathartic melody of the vocals on the chorus, and those guitars. This probably doesn't mean anything since I've been praising the guitar sounds on a lot of these songs, but I'm an absolute sucker for this kind of edge. Goo Goo Dolls may be known for having a sort of pop sound, but this shows that when they let loose with the distortion, they can create something potent and beautiful. This is pretty sweet. It seems to be about a long-distance relationship, or at least a relationship John's desperately trying to save, and the orchestral swell is pretty appropriate for it. Enough so that when the electric guitars kick in toward the end, it feels cathartic and powerful. Not sure what else there is to say other than it's beautiful. I definitely underestimated this the first time I heard it. This was a 3 out of 5 when I first heard it. Also, I love the music video, with various scenes including war portrayed in silhouettes. It's creative and fits the tone of the song perfectly. Part of me doubted that in 2010, these guys would have the same spark they once had. But at this rate, I'm gonna have to check out Something for the Rest of Us in its entirety, as well as a bunch of the other albums in this. This is an example of John Resnick's rougher voice doing wonders for a song. Though I do like it when he's calm too, his borderline growling on the verses makes this song feel awesome. Well, that and the transcendent guitars. I've used that word a lot lately and I don't think I really know what it means. It just sounds awesome and pretty. That's my definition of transcendent from now on. This works as both a rock song and a pop song, and it still holds up tremendously today. There were a few different songs I considered for number 1 in this ranking, but I felt like this made the most sense to me. It's one of the most iconic, most memorable songs in Goo Goo Dolls' discography, and it shows off all their strengths in one fell swoop. From the pretty multi-dubbed guitar melodies to the moments of light distortion to John's understated vocal work, it's a calm yet intense track, and one that I can't imagine growing up without. Even with its dark subtext, it manages to burrow its way into my mind and put me at ease. Plus that "you wanna get married or run away" line is kinda humorous to me, in a good way at least. Someday I may listen to some of the albums these songs are from, especially Dizzy Up the Girl, but for now, know that I love a majority of these songs. I'm glad I did this as it renewed my interest in a band that essentially shaped me into the music lover I am today, whether I knew it or not. I can safely call myself a fan of this band now, with the songs in this ranking scoring 90 points out of a possible 110. That is impressive. I'm Sympathy OT1, and next up I've got a solo review planned. Take care.